on this episode of the Soul Twin Stars podcast.
It's so great to spend time with people that you really love, that don't cause drama, that don't make trouble.
And you can utilize that ability to help you accomplish things, to help you get to that place.
There's just no time for half-assed, for unnecessary struggles. Where do you go through enough struggles?
I'm not here to prove that I'm right or wrong. I don't care if I'm right or wrong. I just want to be happy and joyful and peaceful.
Hi, I'm Lady Shadow, a witch with much to share, stirring the cauldron with magical self-care.
Hi, I'm Peaceful Nik, a medium divine. I chat with the dead and interpret every sign.
We are Soul Twin Stars, best friends through it all.
From spells to healing, we're answering the call.
From moon cycles to menopause and making peace with the dead.
We aren't afraid to talk about what's rarely said.
So tune in each week to get raw, real, and wise.
Let's talk about a spiritual life with absolutely no disguise. Welcome to the Soul Twin Stars podcast, Uninhibited Spirituality. Peaceful Nik and Lady Shadow here. We would like to first and foremost thank our sponsors for this episode. Thank you to Nadine Gordon-Taylor, intuitive artist, author, speaker, and teacher. She's also the visionary creator behind a series of soul-stirring oracle decks, including the Animal Love Oracle cards, the Heart Path Oracle, the Crystal Clear Oracle deck, and the highly anticipated Plant Spirits Oracle, arriving this fall of 2025. Her work blends mystical insight with artistic mastery, offering tools that inspire a deep connection and inner wisdom. Explore her full collection at thirdeyestudio.com, THIRD.istudio.com, or experience her magic in person at her beautiful Peekskill, New York storefront, the Third Eye Studio. To purchase her oracle decks, please visit innertraditions.com. Also, thank you to Beans and Buttercream Bakery. Delicious homemade treats shipped anywhere. Call 417-973-2352. And Abernathy Photography, based in southwestern Kentucky, a professional and stellar company providing drone photography in both local and destination weddings. Visit abernathyphotography.com. Author Mary Ray's self-reflection workbook on conquering shame and guilt, Tell the Devil to Go to Hell, an interactive memoir, is available on Amazon.com. Craving delicious Italian cuisine? You can find it right here in Westchester County, New York at Fino Restaurant, that's Fino Restaurant at One Baltic Place in Croton-on-Hudson, New York. All of our sponsors are linked up on our Soul Twin Stars podcast Facebook page, and we thank them for making this podcast possible. And now, back to our episode.
Welcome back to the Soul Twin Stars podcast. It is I, Peaceful Nik, the medium, and the incredible Lady Shadow. We're so happy you're here. We have so much to talk about, so much going on, and we are just, we're into it. We're into it. We're into this year. We're into sweater weather coming up. Halloween is coming up. We're excited. We have such a wonderful, wonderful episode this week. We're so excited that you are here. What's happening with you, Lady Shadow?
Life has been wonderful this past week. We can go right into divine moments. My baby sister was visiting from Kentucky, and she is just a gem. She's a little star child ever since she was a baby. We're very close, and there are some other things brewing in the family that were super stressful for everybody, and we didn't know if the trip was going to happen. And we all just kind of had this aha moment together where we said, hey, no matter what's happening in the family, the least we can do for ourselves is to give the gift of the plans that we had in place, to pursue them, to continue full stop, and have our visit. And it was an amazing one the whole week. We had so much quality time. We were able to work at the same time. They were able to go do some fun things in the area. We got to do some things together. So that divine moment was literally a little bit of gloriousness every single day for the 8 days they were here. And it's so great to spend time with people that you really love, that don't cause drama, that don't make trouble. It's just so nice to have a peaceful, flawless visit with wonderful other humans.
Makes a big difference when you are around people that vibrate at the same frequency as you do, and you can be yourself, and you don't have to be worried or anxious about, am I saying the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? Do they accept me? Do they unconditionally love me? Et cetera, et cetera. Because I think people may underestimate the stress of spending time with people who you don't resonate with. It's a stressful feeling.
It is. And I know people that are in 30-year marriages who are still afraid to joke around with their spouse. Like they still have to tiptoe on eggshells. And that's no way to live. To have to wear that facade still all those years later. This is why so many people get chronic health issues, because I think when we stuff our feelings, and again, we've talked about this, it comes out, it has to manifest into the body because it has to manifest somewhere. That stress has to go somewhere. And if you're not grounding or putting it back where it belongs into a safe place, it's going to go right into the body. And ironically, we are talking about what today, this morning.
Manifesting.
Yes. And it can start at the root level, our bodies, our minds, and our environments, our jobs. Everything is energy and frequency, like we've said. So, yes, so ironic.
You know, it's interesting that you're talking about that. I was going to give a different divine moment, but this just came to mind, something else that happened this week. I was in a conversation with someone, and usually we resonate together, but occasionally we don't, as in any type of relationship with anybody, right? And there was a discussion about an opinion about something, and it started to get a little heated. And I said, listen, the other person said to me, you just want to be right. And I said, I'm not here to prove that I'm right or wrong. I don't care if I'm right or wrong. I just want to be happy and joyful and peaceful. The right or wrongness doesn't matter to me. Now, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, that would have been a knockdown, drag out argument. I would have stood on a chair and screamed and yelled and tried to prove my point. But those days are over for me, thank God, because I would rather be happy than right. And proving your point to somebody is pointless because they either see it or they don't. They either believe it or they don't. They either agree or disagree. And you cannot make someone agree with you if they are committed to misunderstanding you. You cannot force that. And so for me, that was a divine moment of growth, and it shifted the conversation, and it shifted the energy of the conversation. And it no longer was becoming volatile. The dust settled and everything turned to peace. And since then, every interaction I've had with this person has been very peaceful.
I love that. And it always starts with energy. And if you boil it down, we don't have the energy for that shit anymore. That is part of being our age, having gone through so much and given all of our youthful energy to families and careers. And at some point, things slow down, right? And we just have less to give at the end of the day. And they say less fucks to give, right? But
Right.
it really is at some point you have to just start eliminating the cups off the table, because for me, like you, it's easier to just be happy. I have the what little energy I do being menopausal,
Right.
full on menopause, whatever I have left to really give it in full to the things that super deserve it.
Agree completely. And menopause does shift your outlook on things, and the need to be validated starts to fade, and you become someone who stands on their own 2 feet more strongly and doesn't seek acceptance anymore or to be chosen. If you haven't chosen me by now, you're probably never going to choose me, and I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's how I look at it. You're either with me or good luck. I love you. I wish everyone success. That's it.
Yeah, there's just no time for half-assed, like you said, for unnecessary struggles. We already go through enough struggles, which is why we're talking about manifesting in this episode, because we want to learn and teach others how to shift from allowing the struggle, being okay with the struggle, to flipping that around and just being okay with more peace and more creativity, more creation. There's even a new theory that's coming out about manifestation itself. The word itself is actually a verb, which is almost like the word try. So people now are starting to look at the word manifestation in a very different way, as if to look at it more in a past tense or present than something that's being waited on to happen. So much like the word try, where you're in a purgatory of waiting, right? The universe sees, okay, you want to try something? Well, you're going to just sit there and try it. But what it is you don't want to sit in the try for very long. You want to sit in the do. You want to sit in the already happened. You want to sit in the
I
it's.
am.
Yeah. So people are starting to shift away from when they're talking about manifesting by not using the word manifestation anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to comment on some of that. So when we want to manifest something or we want an outcome, we need to see ourselves in the outcome fully and totally and
Right.
completely, as if you pray for rain, you see yourself with your feet and toes in the mud, as
Right.
if it has already happened. The same thing with, I always say, when you want an outcome, we'll move to that. We want an outcome. Set your intention. So, what is it that you want the outcome to be? Do the work. Of course, you have to do the work. There are people who sit around their living room and they're like, I'm manifesting, I'm reading all the books, but they're just watching Netflix all day. That is not going to help. Do the work and then allow yourself to receive. And this is something I repeat over and over and over to my clients and to my friends and family and other loved ones. There are steps to the outcome that you wish and desire. And when someone says, I want more money. Well, what does that mean? How much money do you want? Do you want money for the week? Because if you just want money for the week, the universe is only going to give you money for the week. Or do you
Mm-hmm.
want money for the next 6 months or the next 6 years? You have to tell the universe exactly what it is. I am a person with 6 months worth of savings in my bank account. And that's an example of a way that you can tell the universe what you have already and work towards that.
Right. And it's also another huge breakthrough they're having with this manifestation study is that you're going to manifest what you already are inside. So, in other words, it's not just
Mm.
about from the outside of you saying, I am, or this is what I'm stating that I want, and I'm just going to wait for it. It's also about believing with every cell in your body that this is your reality. So you're basically creating a new timeline for yourself where you're stepping out of an old timeline and into a new timeline that you are absolutely sure that you are steering the ship to, and you must be comfortable in that timeline. So, in other words, if you are asking for $10,000 by the end of the month, but if you are not realistically comfortable with that belief, that thought, or with the work that would go along with that to align yourself with it, then you're going to have a mismatch of the vibration. So it has to be something that you believe with every cell in your body unequivocally, and you move into that alignment. It's as if you are literally changing from your pajamas into an outfit of a CEO for the day. You're going to carry yourself differently. You're going to walk in those heels differently. You're going to have your chin up and feel the confidence of the position. It's like, I work with a lot of actors, right? So we do several shows a year, and there's a big difference between the actors hanging out in, the dressing room and being very relaxed and chill in themselves. But then as soon as they put that costume on and that makeup on, woo, everything changes. The show is on. Our audiences believe every word because they are carrying themselves as that character completely believably. So it's very much like that, where if you can step in to the character or the characteristics of the life that you want to create, carry yourself as such, speak as such, read, learn, go out and experience as such, I think all of that starts to come together in a full alignment, and bam, things happen. And also, one other little tidbit, like for me, because I work in a very faith-based, like you, income situation where we don't necessarily know, right, every week or every month what we're going to generate our salaries to, or where it's going to come from, because you and I have several streams of income, right?
Mm-hmm.
Used basically because of our intuition and creativity, because we're entrepreneurs. So we have, irons in the fire that are based on our talents and the wonderful, beautiful things that we're putting out into the world to seed our salaries. But I don't know which avenue it's going to come from week to week, whether it's ticket sales or whether it's sponsorships or whether it's through a podcast or whether it's through sales through the website or coaching clients like you with your readings and your sales and books and mediumship clients. So it's this full on faith. Like when you took that leap out of the system of education of being a teacher full time,
Mm-hmm.
it was such a faith-based leap because you knew you had to do it. When you were ready, it was time. That was it. You cut the cord, you went in, you dove in, and you wouldn't have dove in if you didn't know for sure somehow in one of your bones or all of your bones that this was the right thing to do. And it's the same with me when I quit bartending, retail waitressing, and corporate assisting so that I could go into producing full time. When I came to New York, it's the same thing. I just knew that this is in my bones, what I was supposed to be doing full time, and that's what I jumped into. And ever since then, I've done this now for 27 years, and I've never not paid my rent. I've never not made my bills. It's been close at times, I will tell you. I think for you too. But it shows up because I have unwavering faith that I know what I'm doing and what I have done and where we're going. It's going to be fine. It's going to get bigger. It's going to get better. And it's already sustained itself. It's already proven its theory. So my faith when I wake up at the beginning of the week is full faith that I will find and receive, by doing, of course, the work that we do, what I am meant to have for that week or that month based on being authentic to my alignment. And I'm sure you feel the same exact way.
It's so funny because authenticity was was the word I had next on my list to talk about, because you have to live authentically in order for any of this to occur. First of all, I was pushed out of that environment. I was fired. I've never been fired in my life. I was actually given an ultimatum by a religious school that I was teaching at in the state of Florida. I was in the state of California before that, working at the same type of religious school. They knew I was a medium. I did not get fired. The school in Florida basically gave me an ultimatum: either quit your mediumship and take everything off the internet or be fired. And I was so sure and so trusting in spirit in that moment. It was one of the happiest moments of my life because spirit said, you are meant to be a full-time medium, and this environment you're in is so toxic. It's keeping you from accomplishing everything you're meant to accomplish. I was not upset for a microsecond. I was not in any way shaken by that experience. I was so grateful. It was one of the best things that ever happened to me because my life, I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life because that happened to me, because I was living in a state of fear of, if I lose that salary, I'm gonna be poor or destitute or lose my house or whatever. And I had so much faith in spirit, and I am so grateful that that happened to me. Like the worst things in my life that have happened, I've always been so grateful for because they have changed my life for the better. And I was talking to a coaching client the other day, and she was having a similar type of experience, but the opposite reaction where she's being forced to make certain decisions about her career. And she's just ruminating and ruminating and sitting in fear. And she's actually trying to tell me that she's telling her spirit guides what she's going to do and that they can't tell her what to do. And I'm like, but that's not how it works, right? Like, she's like, but I have free will. I'm like, you do, but your guides are gonna reroute you 1,000 times back to where you're supposed to be. When you have a little more wisdom and a little more perspective, you will see that the path they laid out for you is the path you're meant to go down, and you'll get there. You just have to have faith and in spirit and trust. It's interesting living authentically and knowing who you are truly. And that's the other thing about menopause. We become who we truly are more and more every day, and we're not afraid to be that person. And that is beautiful. And again, just to reiterate, I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life.
Oh, I can tell you, I'm definitely, no matter what level of salary or status that I've ever been at or not been at in my life, that you are 100% right. Authenticity is the ticket to manifestation, because authentically aligned with your highest self, and you finally feel that enough to actually take action on it, then that's the right thing. Case in point, your story. But secondly, the menopause strips away kind of like the mask of the hormones that we've relied on to regulate our bodies. And then when that's gone, it's almost like nature has to step in and align a new organic way to figure out how to replace those hormones in a different way, how to deal with our body that's missing a few components. How do you adjust that? How do you get in touch with that? And of course, denying it or allowing it to take over you so that you are not functional, which is so hard for so many women because the changes can be really overwhelming. And for me, they were pretty severe the first 6 months. I had hot flashes that were super debilitating. I was afraid to even go out in public because if I started to break out in some crazy sweat and I was in an important meeting, I would look like a fool. And eventually got those under control. And there are supplements and all of that. But really going inward and kind of talking to ourselves, with ourselves, and realigning ourselves with the organic parts of us, like I was talking about in another podcast with the health commands, right? Commanding your body to do certain things and loving your body and helping your body repair and give it what it needs, both physically and internally, vitamins and rest and light and, all of that fun stuff, sex, whatever that means to you, just finding that balance again. And it's almost like every 10 years, we should go through a spiritual inventory anyway, right? But when your body forces you, because you're feeling feelings that your hormones masked you from for a long time, it just makes you look at everything differently. And for me, the pain of the cramps every month and having a period was absolutely debilitating, probably worse than hot flashes that I ever had. So removing the symptom of one thing, but the lack of hormones and trading that off for the pain and the inconvenience of a period every month, also had to recalibrate my thinking and just everything. Now I can kind of plan vacations without having to worry about doing it around the cycle. But then am I going to have a hot flash in the middle of an important meeting? So it really makes you relax into yourself. There's a level of self-acceptance that comes at this age. I feel like we're moving into that, when there's someone that's really older, a senior in the room, 80s, 90s, and they can get away with saying whatever they want because they've lived their life, and they can get away with it because they have the wisdom to let that just fly, and people let it go like children. When you're beginning and the end of life, you get away with a little bit more. But I feel like that the menopause stages, we can also kind of let our hair down and also get away with finally saying, like you said, what we need, why we need it, and that time is running short because now we're, what are we, 3/4, 2/3 to 3/4 of the way through our lives. So
Right.
it's like we have to recalibrate fast. and priorities have to be set in order for us to go forward feeling like we're productive and happy and joyful, because again, the clock is ticking at this point.
Right. And we have to understand that it's time to manifest our dreams, whether it's through menopause or menopause. Because I think men go through menopause. That's another podcast for another day. But I think that there's a big connection with women stepping into their power more fully when they reach, their 50s and 60s. I was forced into menopause because I had a hysterectomy. And it hasn't been so, I mean, it's a little irritating, the sweats and the hot flashes, but it hasn't been as bad as some people I know have described it. I think probably because I work at home and I make my own schedule, that is a huge stress reliever. And I think if I was still working outside of the home, I probably would have a much different experience because of the stress. But I think we all come to terms with things in the time we're supposed to. We all learn the lessons in the time we're supposed to. And there are things we can all do to help each other grow and learn. I wish I had a mentor aside from Oprah, who I watched religiously. Um, I wish I had, the internet where I could interact with people the way we do now when I was younger, because I lost my mom at a young age. I didn't have anybody after that to really teach me anything. I basically had to learn everything on my own. I was pretty estranged from most of my family, and it was an interesting journey I've had. But I'm grateful. Again, I'm grateful for everything that I've experienced. Everything I've experienced led me to be the healer I am today. And sometimes I ask, I've probably said this here on the podcast before, what came first, the trauma or the telepathy? Like, did my trauma in my life cause me to be so intuitive and so psychic and so, pick up on things telepathically? Or was I already had a predisposition to those abilities and the trauma just enhanced it or kicked it in? I think there's a lot to explore in that area as well. But my ability to help others heal is my main focus for the rest of my life right now. And I have been manifesting that for the past 7 years now. And I'm finally feeling very confident and very settled into this is successful, this is working, that this isn't going to go awry unless some outside source creates havoc in the economy and it goes awry that way. So I say an I am statement several times a day. I have a post-it note that says, I am a successful and prosperous medium and mediumship business owner, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I say it several times a day, in the morning and at night, when I brush my teeth, whatever, at my refrigerator, when I make my coffee on my coffee pot. I say it, I am. And so if you are trying to manifest a successful business, a successful job, a successful family, whatever it is, be in the I am. See it as if it already has occurred. And wake up every morning. And this changed my life in the last 6 months, by the way. Wake up every morning, and before you get up out of bed, before you look at your phone, which we all do, before you click on the TV or the internet, say 5 positive things you are grateful for. You can say them in your head, you can say them out loud, but really feel the gratitude. Say 5 positive things every single morning before you do anything else. And then, if you cannot meditate, if you follow me on YouTube, I have meditation Mondays with all these little tips and tricks for non-meditators. If you cannot meditate, when you brush your teeth in the morning, say repeatedly in your head or out loud, I am brushing my teeth. I am brushing my teeth. During the whole time, or if you're washing your hair, I'm washing my hair, I'm washing my hair, I'm rinsing my hair, I'm rinsing my hair. That puts you in the moment and stops that train of thought that's running through your brain at the speed of light every morning. Because you all know when you wake up in the morning, your brain turns on and things start clicking. And before you know it, the world has ended in your brain before you get to breakfast because the train of thoughts comes in, everything negative, every worry, every concern. If you start your morning with 5 positive things and then stop your brain by saying, I am brushing my teeth or I am washing my hair, be in that present moment, that has the ability to change your whole day and the course of your life if you are consistent with those types of things. And be in the I am a, whatever it is.
Right. And don't forget to step in. Like I said, if you're playing a character on the stage, you fully believe that character. And again, your brain doesn't know the difference between what character you want to play and what it thinks it's playing. So you, like you said, just take little moments of corrective thinking and start with, you're right, getting into the present moment and then feeling the present moment and then stating the present moment and then reiterating the present moment. And then, like you said, take action and receive in that present moment. So it's a few more steps, but just like anything, when you learn to cook, every morning I make eggs and it's old hat to whip up a beautiful breakfast in 5 minutes. And when you're first learning it, oh, how long do you cook the eggs? And, when do you put the cheese on it? My husband, admittedly, is still getting the perfect scrambled egg recipe just right. But everything becomes old hat after a while. And then suddenly you just start to feel different. You've got that spring in your step, and coincidences come in all of the time. And as you know, we're all connected. We're all a little piece of fractal soul that is connected into the one source. Source is always hanging out with us, sending little extras into our life, extra guides, extra energy, extra love, opportunities through people, through physical experiences to reiterate these manifestations that we are aligned with. It does take time to rewire all of that chaos, because you're right. As soon as you wake up, the thoughts start. And before bed, like before bed is my thing. I'm an insomniac. I get all these creative ideas at nighttime. And so it's very hard for me to be creative all night and then go lay down and then just try to shut it all off and go, okay, we have to rest now. But I have all these ideas, especially when I'm in the midst of writing something like I am now, writing a new play that's going up in November. And it just takes everything over. But all of that for a reason too, because I've chosen, like you, to be a channel, to use my art to help heal people and inspire people. And when that comes from above into my brain through my hands onto the keyboard, it's divine energy. It's divine will, it's authenticity. So knowing that I am writing the right words and creating the right spectacle for the theater and for the stage for the audience to enjoy is, for me, I know that I'm in alignment, and so I can fully listen to that and not question it. But it takes time for us to listen to our brains and our thoughts and to not question it and be okay with messages that we're getting, and then not be okay with the negative messages, and then being able to kick those out and bring the good ones in. It's a struggle for everyone.
Yeah, and I think you touched on something very important about manifesting, and that is channeling. We all do it. Every single person who's listening to this has channeled something, whether you know it or whether you will accept it or not. You have had a bright idea. All of a sudden, you're like, oh my God, that's a great idea. And then you implement whatever that idea is. Writers are channelers, musicians. I think Bob Dylan talked about his older music. He was in an interview and he talked about his older music. And one of the things he said was, I don't even know how those songs got created. All of a sudden, they were just there,
Yep.
all fully formed.
That's
And
exactly what it's like. Your
right.
paintings are the same way.
Right, exactly. And we take in more information from the universe, spirit, God, angels, whatever you call it for yourself, um, listeners. We take in so much information that we don't realize is from the ether, we'll say. And it happens all the time. And you can utilize that ability to help you accomplish things, to help you get to that place that you need to get to the point that you're manifesting the life you deserve. And I know there's some iffy stuff about the word manifesting now, but that's, what people are familiar with. But
Yeah.
to get to that end point of this is where I wanted to be, you can channel ideas. I love that you said all of this happens to you at nighttime because that is when our brain goes into the relaxed state. And that is why you're channeling the most at night, because that's when your natural biorhythms say, okay, it's time for bed. And you lay down and all the thoughts start coming. Oh, I got this idea. I got this idea. I got this idea. That is how my very first mediumship experience happened. I would lay down to take a nap and boom, full color, three-dimensional in my mind's eye. I could hear, I could see this whole fully formed human who had just passed that day giving me a message. And I had not seen him for 25 years as an infant. And because my brain waves had gone to that state of allowing creativity or spirituality. Those both occur during the same brainwave state. It's the same side of the brain. And so all of that is super important for people to be aware of. You can use a meditation practice, listen to some hemisync, listen to some solfeggio. All of those types of things can help you get in that creative state to help you manifest whatever it is you desire.
Yes. And just as you were saying how important it is to channel and to listen, the problem is we are sent so much noise, right? All day long between other people's drama, literal bad energies, literal media, which is mostly predictive programming. It's a lot of that. It's the negative, it's the narrative, it's the fear, fear, fear. And trust me, if it didn't keep people defeated, they wouldn't use it. There's a reason why people spend millions of dollars on Super Bowl ads, because they know that they can influence those watching with their ads and they can sell brands and all of that. So we have to cut the noise as much as we can. And listen, I was a city girl. I lived in Manhattan on the Upper East Side for 18 years, and I loved living in the city. I always did have a car, so I was able to get out and go camping regularly. And I had a small outdoor space so I could ground myself outdoors barefoot. In general, if you are in a big city and taking advantage of all the wonderful things that living in a city has to offer, such as the life that I had there too, you still have to find that balance, because it's really easy to get defeated so much more quickly by being exposed to so much more energy coming at you at one time. And that energy can be really used for good if you're the kind of person that can harness it, like I was, or it can really get you down if you're someone who's vulnerable to that type of mixed energy all day long, all night long. And I know for me, now that I'm older, and since COVID kind of kicked me out of the city, and now I'm in a beautiful little cottage kind of in the country, not far from the city, but just enough so that I can enjoy nature the way it was intended to be enjoyed and the way I intend to enjoy it continually. It really helps with that grounding and that harmonizing. Not that I am for city living anymore or against it. I think it's really based on how you handle different energies. And I would probably at some point have place in the city again, but again, I was always able to get out and still ground myself in nature and have peace and quiet. And I was able to discern the energies coming my way. But I know so many people who did have to leave the city, not even because of COVID, but because it's a lot of stimuli on the system. And and you already have so many distractions coming at you. Like you said, you have family drama, you have friend drama, you have the television telling you be scared, be scared shitless of everything. And of course, we're not necessarily in a society that's encouraging people to do what we did. Say, fuck the system. We need to work for ourselves because that's what we were born to do. We have leadership skills, we have autonomy skills, we have entrepreneurial skills. We are quick learners and we are self-taught on many fronts, even though we're educated. So not everyone is going to be at that level. But what's sad is society doesn't seed that possibility for most of us. They want us kind of in the vomit job. They want us down and defeated because we're easier to control. We're not going to rise up and change things if we are quiet about things and just bitch about it on the side.
And they want us not to be in touch with our own spirituality. That's why religious organizations are so pissed at the rise in spiritual businesses and spiritual practices. That's why they burned witches at the stake, even if they weren't witches, even if it was a woman who was just moody and got mad at her husband and, didn't cook the bacon right or had her period or whatever the reason is. They want people to be docile. They want
Yeah.
people to be numb. They want people to be in fear. And when you have a spiritual life path, you don't have all of those issues. You are free in your mind. And the biggest threat to any organization is people who are free in their mind because you cannot threaten me. You cannot hurt me. There's nothing you can do to harm me because I'm free in my mind. The worst thing you can do to a person is take their life. Well, then you're
Yeah.
really free.
Yeah. You can't threaten me with a good time, Nicole.
So, so I think it's all connected, piece by piece to all of these, various subjects of manifesting, menopause, moments with people, fear, alignment, boundaries, government control, religious control. All of this stuff is so interwoven and is such we've cast a wide net today in this podcast, but all of these things are very much one bouncing off the other for a reason. It's not just a mishmash of a bunch of random stuff. This all bleeds together in so many different ways in all of our lives. And it's important to keep in mind you have choices. You can make the life you want. I'm not telling anybody to go quit their job tomorrow and start a bread baking business on the side or mortgage your house to start a clay making business or whatever, or become an actor, whatever it is. But you can start taking steps to free yourself and manifest the life you want. Maybe you enjoy working a 9 to 5. Maybe you enjoy being a teacher or a nurse or a doctor or an artist or whatever it is. That's fine. But there are other options if you're in a job that you're miserable in. And in a life, not just a job, but in a life situation that you're miserable in. You don't have to stay in a miserable life situation. You can put up boundaries. And if somebody doesn't take your boundaries seriously and they continually cross your boundaries, everyone will test your boundaries to some degree. But if they continue to disrespect you and cross your boundaries, you don't have to stay in that relationship, whether it's a partner, a friend, a family member. You have choices in every aspect of your life. You don't have to stay stuck where you are if you're feeling stuck. You can change everything. You just have to take the first step.
And that is a big topic that I tackle in all of my plays is I remind my characters that the more choices they make and the less they succumb to other people's requests and programming, that slowly their personal empowerment grows, right? So it's absolutely imperative that it start with the freedom of making more choices, because I know so many people that will say, especially starting out their lives. Well, I don't really know what I want to do with my life, so I'm just going to let life live for me. Well, you can guarantee that if you don't make choices that make you happy, you will be thrown a random fate that you may or may not like. And so there are so many things we can't choose already because of the limitations, societal and mental and physical, educational, monetary. The weather, we can't
Right.
control the weather. So,
Some people think we can.
but we don't get to individually control it. I wish we could. But if we take the smallest of choices and say, you know what, today I'm going to choose this, I'm going to choose that, it really does change everything. So make more choices, hopefully better ones, but don't get stuck by the limiting belief that we don't have choices, because you're right, we do. And just because it might be a difficult choice, like you can't even fathom coming out on the other side of it, like leaving a spouse or leaving a job or selling a house or buying a house. It actually, there has been someone in your shoes that has made that choice before and come out on the other side alive and better for it. And the worst thing you can do is give your choices only the fear-based outcomes. Definitely make more choices. And yes, start by accepting that there are things we cannot control. It just makes the experience easier when we empower ourselves to be able to make those other changes.
And that's why it's so important when you are raising children, for those of you who have children or grandchildren that you spend time with. It's important to teach them that they have choices. It's important, and I don't mean let your kids walk all over you. I am not. I've seen those parents. That is not what I mean. I mean, for instance, I gave my oldest son, who is a genius and was reading at a college level in fourth grade. So he's brilliant. He could have gone to any college he wanted to. And I gave him a choice when he was a freshman. He was a three-sport athlete and he was very brilliant. Never saw him crack a book, graduated with a 3.8 GPA. I don't even know if he ever did homework. I don't know. But he could pass every test without even reading a book. I don't know how he did it. He was brilliant. And I gave him a choice his freshman year. They started signing him up for all these AP classes. And I said, look, you can. This is your choice. You can stay in all these AP classes and do all your sports, and you can get into any college you want in America. And you'll probably get a full ride because you're a genius. Or you can just take honors classes, enjoy your high school experience, enjoy your sports, because he also had a job, and go to a state school and still be just as happy if that's what you choose to do. And he said, I don't want to take all those AP classes. They're super stressful. I know I could pass them, but it's just a lot of pressure considering he was in sports 11 months out of the year, plus high school, plus a job. So that's the kind of choice. Give your kids and grandkids information that will help them and be honest with them. There's no guarantee any student is going to get in and into Harvard, even if they have a over a 4.0 and had 10 AP classes. There's still no guarantee that that's going to happen. It's a possibility, but it's not really a guarantee. So you have to give your students your kids and grandkids information. Another example of that, athletes. Parents, my husband's been a coach for 20 something years. I've seen and heard millions of stories from parents and their kids and all the stuff. Parents think their kids, if they were good in eighth grade basketball, they should play on varsity freshman year. They have all these delusions. Or their kid's 5'5". I had this conversation with a mom. Her kid was 5'5" and she thought he was going to the NBA. And he was just an average basketball player. That's not going to happen. And I tried to tell her, that's not realistic. First of all, he's just not big enough and not talented enough and, etc. And so parents have these delusions and parents need to also be given proper information and they need to be open-minded enough to receive the information about their precious perfect angel because children as precious and perfect as they may be, are not all going to the NBA. So you have to be honest with your kids, give them honest choices, don't give them delusional choices.
And also, instead of allowing the public schools and society to do all of the guiding, when your child comes home from school, talk to them, ask them things like, how do you feel about your teachers? How do you feel about school? How do you feel about the things you're learning? Are you connecting? Do you feel like it's giving you anxiety? Just talking to your kids. I have a good friend who's raising two teenagers. Well, one is almost 17 and one is 15. You know, they're having the usual teen angst in the household with both of them. And I said, have you ever sat them down and just had an adult to adult like conversation other than, hey, don't do this, don't do that. This isn't good. That's good. At heart to heart. He's like, nobody has time for that. And I said, no, these are your children. Heart to hearts are super important. Like, that's how you get to know your children, is through the heart to hearts, not through just observing behavior that school has programmed into them. It's what you do at home, not what they're doing away, where they're getting the quality time with you to get to know you and the world. And that is how we raise balanced and thoughtful human beings.
And I think that is true and something everyone needs to consider. I think we've covered the gamut today, whenever you're listening to the replay. Lady Shadow, it's been a pleasure. We, again, I feel like knocked it out of the park with a grand slam. I know you don't know sports, but that's like really a good thing.
I think I know enough about sports to know what a grand slam is, except that Denny's also sells a grand slam breakfast. And I do know about that. So that's why the bat is on the menu. I get it now.
Again, I love you. I love everybody. Thank you for listening. Manifest your dreams. I hope you're dealing well with menopause and make better choices for your life. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We love you all.
Thank you so much for joining us this episode for the Soul Twin Stars podcast. Find us on our podcast Facebook page for Magical Mondays live at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, where we will help you magically slay your weekdays, and for awesome giveaways. For more information about what other spiritual things Nik and I do and offer, visit peacefulnikthemedium.com. That's Nik with just a K. Or to connect with me, Lady Shadow, soulsandspirits.com is the place to go. If you want to be a guest on one of our shows, we would absolutely love that. Contact us at soultwinstars@gmail.com. See you next Friday. I'm on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, Facebook, and on YouTube. Sending you all so many blessings. Thank you so much for joining us, and until next time, know that you are all cherished.